Welcome everyone to a new episode of another show that we're doing called Switch 'em Up Saturdays. This is supposed to be live streaming on Twitter as well, but unfortunately that feature is not working right now, which is a shame because we got a ton of views last week on Twitter. So I do apologize about that. But I wanted to introduce everyone first and foremost, starting with one of our newest members, Adriana. Adriana, where can the people find you, and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Cinema Soloist, Instagram at Cinema Soloist, Facebook, The Cinema Soloist. I'm from North Carolina originally, went off to San Diego, and then now mostly in LA. Been a current film critic, and then I've been a marketing coordinator with a couple local festivals. Been writing since 2015, and I'm happy to be here right now. So
awesome.
Pretty exciting.
Thank you, Adriana. All right, Mark, take it away.
I'm Mark Pacis. You can find me at PacmanNR7 on Twitter and on Instagram. I write for Nerd Reactor at Nerd Reactor, and I've been doing writing reviews for many years now, it seems. But I love being here, man. I'm one of the
OGs.
Yeah, we're one of the OGs. Yeah, 3 people here are the OGs.
So that's awesome. And Joel?
Hello, everybody. My name is Joel Amos, and I'm otherwise known as the Movie Mensch. You can catch me at themoviemensch.com. My Twitter handle is just below here on the screen. I have been reviewing movies for 20 some years. Put it this way, my first film that I reviewed was Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe. And on a whim, I took it to a newspaper editor in San Diego where I lived at the time. And not only did he publish it, but he hired me. And as they say, the rest is history.
Oh, that's awesome. I, of course, am Scott Menzel. I am the crazy guy who's obsessed with Nightmare Before Christmas, as you can see in the background. And I've been pretty much freelancing, doing my own thing for about 19 years now. My first review ever was that wonderful Jessica Alba movie called Honey, and that is very much sarcasm. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @theotherscottm. And I just want to tell everyone a little bit about this show. So it's a new show we're going to be doing, and hopefully it'll be streaming next week on Twitter, but it's supposed to be on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 different topics, and that's why it's Switch 'em Up. We're going to do a movie, a TV show. This week I got a little lazy because we actually, it's new and we didn't know what to do, but we're going to probably do something more along the lines for the third segment, maybe an anniversary piece or a classic movie, something that's a little bit different. But for this week, we're going to do a movie that's on streaming. So first thing we're going to talk about is a movie that was supposed to be in movie theaters, but unfortunately the movie theaters are closed. And that, of course, is Trolls World Tour. So everyone had a chance to watch Trolls, and I don't know where Joel disappeared to, but I'm sure he'll be back in a few minutes. So Adriana, you want to take it away? What were your initial thoughts on Trolls, and did you have any expectations going into it?
Honestly, not much. I'm not saying I don't watch a lot of kids movies, but from the the initial trailers, I kind of wasn't attracted to it. Kind of looked silly, so I was like, okay, I didn't have really much that really called me to it. But after watching it, it is actually surprisingly insightful about a lot of things going on in our society, and I liked how they kind of low-key snuck some messages in there, especially about cultural appropriation in music, and then learning to listen, and of course things like that were really pretty good. So it is a good thing to not only for children but for adults right now too. So that was something I really liked about it, and the songs are pretty catchy too. I think if I hadn't been recommended it, I wouldn't have maybe watched it on my own. I probably would have just been nah. But it was actually kind of cute and a good time and nice to distract me for a little while.
That's awesome. And how about you, Mark? What'd you think?
going off of what Adriana said, like I love the messaging that's in the movie. Like I love my own things, you guys love your own things, and that's okay because me personally, like I love, as you can see, like superhero movies, and I know some of you might not, and and that's one of the main like messages that I think that's so important about Trolls World Tour is that whatever you like, it's fine, and it's also a good metaphor to be tolerant of not just like other people's like what they like, but just for people in general. And it's silly, true, but that's what's going to get the kids' attention. And I love how it plays off of a lot of the music stereotypes, like pop ruins everything, which sometimes it does, but that's beside the point. And I also found it really funny on how smooth jazz is like the least popular like music genre in the movie as well. So I mean, if you have kids, it's they're gonna love this movie, especially if they love the first Trolls, which I also love the first Trolls movie as well. So
yeah, I gotta be honest. I was with Adriana. The marketing for this movie did nothing for me. I thought it was actually really bad. And to be perfectly honest, when they announced that they were pushing it direct to streaming, I kind of felt like, oh, that says something about the type of movie that this is.
yeah,
And I can't help but actually feel when I was watching the movie that it did still feel like something that should have been on demand. I don't know if it was the same level of quality as the first one. I felt like even like the cut-ins of like the real world stuff felt like extra cheesy this time, and I can't figure out if that was done on purpose or just part of it. But that being said, I was not a huge fan of the first one. I thought the first movie was only okay, and I would say that this one's pretty much on par with the first one. It's amazing we're talking about the messaging because I feel like most of the reviews and most of the stuff that is online right now is not talking about the messaging at all. They're everyone just like, oh, it's light and upbeat and it's what we need right now. And I feel like, to me, the movie where it started losing me, and we all know that I'm for this. It's the reason why this organization exists, is for being tolerant of other people's voices and listening to others. And I love the incorporation of music and stuff like that. But I just felt like as it went on, about halfway through, they started introducing that subject matter. But by the end of the movie, I felt like they were just kind of like banging us over the head with it. I don't know if anyone else agreed with that, but it just felt a little bit too much by the time it ended, to the point where I just felt like it's like, you get the message. Here you go. Spoon feed me a little bit more. And that kind of took me out of the movie a little bit because I stopped focusing on the music and what the story was actually saying, and more on like, oh my God, there's so much of this message. Does everyone else feel that way, or is it just me?
It was a little like tacky at times. Like I understood what they were saying, but sometimes, yeah, it did seem a little like, I mean, well, it is a children's movie mostly, so I guess it's maybe more for them to like understand and maybe get it, maybe not for maybe adults so much. So maybe that's what it was. Like I did get annoyed in some parts, but like it didn't bother me like too much, I would say.
Okay. Would you guys think of Rachel Bloom as the baddie in this one?
I thought it was pretty funny and that she had like some pretty good like moments. But yeah, I thought it was like her voice is really good too. So I really like hearing her sing and kind of like be really like comedic and almost like, but I wanted more about her character and like the background. That's what I wanted most out of the story, because she's just like mainly a one-dimensional villain. So I wished they would have given us more like of her background, because she just kind of appears and then wants to take over everything. So
it almost felt like, to me at times, like they forgot the character was part of the story.
Yeah.
It was very strange. Like there was like these long periods of time where the character just like was not involved. And then like random people would show up, like all the different music genres. And then like at the end, you were kind of like, oh yes, there is someone else here.
Yeah.
But it was strange. But I did like the fact that they got Ozzy Osbourne to be in the movie very briefly. That was very unique, especially since he was in the rock aspect of it. Joel, welcome back. You keep fading in and out here. What were your thoughts on Trolls World Tour?
Getting straight to the point, I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but then again, the first one to me was a bit like lightning in a bottle between the music and the colors and the look of the thing. So I kind of had a little. It was a bigger hill for them to climb for me, but having watched it with a little one who just adored it, I think that this film firmly knows its audience, and it sure definitely reached the one that I.
Oh no, we lost Joel, I think.
Oh,
Joel is frozen.
There are a lot of mashups where they cut different songs into other songs. And I thought that was very interesting. And I noticed that Justin Timberlake was the executive music producer. So I know that had a lot to do with his input. So I think it was visually stunning. And when I was watching it, I kept thinking about how this had to go to streaming because of the situation out there in our world as it is with theaters closed. And I think this is actually a movie that, it's a wash. I mean, whether we saw it in the theater or saw it home, I would have liked the sound of a big movie theater. I'm a big sound guy, but it was just fine with watching it at home. So I think this is a kind of movie that they were smart to just put out on streaming like this, because there are a lot of parents like me who are dying to have something to do with their kids as we're stuck in here, and for that reason alone, it's definitely worth checking out.
Okay, and Joel, we were talking when you were faded in and out there about whether or not you felt like the messaging of the film was a little too heavy-handed.
No, actually. And initially as it was happening, I thought, oh boy. But afterwards and talking with my child, I was blown away at how she absorbed those messages, and how, we were kind of going through a thing where, if somebody looks different, we don't want to stare at them, or if they're this or that, the other thing. And that this movie really just touched on these lessons that we've been teaching her and reinforced them. And then once the movie was over, it was amazing to hear her talk about these things, about how, there's so many differences between us, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. She's like, I just love that. And so I got to say, it didn't come off as heavy-handed. In fact, I think it was probably pitch perfect, because it resonated. And that's probably the most important thing.
It's
Is
interesting. I mean, you could, then that's an interesting point that you made there, and I think that's something that maybe me, Adriana, Mark, and of course Ashley, we're not with kids right now watching these movies, and it's fascinating because I think we're so much part of this conversation on a regular basis. To me, and I think Adriana said it bothered her a little bit at times, that it felt a little heavy-handed. But it's interesting hearing it from the perspective of your daughter and seeing how she reacted to it, because we're always talking about it. It's like it has consumed our lives. And one of the things I wanted to point out about Adriana, one of the things that I really admired about her last couple of months, she's been posting a lot on Facebook about how, like, she's tired of a lot of this stuff basically consuming us, and how she feels like it's getting away from like us doing what we love. It's always like it has some sort of like messaging or agenda, and I appreciate you pointing that out, Adriana.
Yeah, it's nice to just sometimes, for children's stuff is like a bit different, but for other things it's kind of gets annoying at times, like they're trying to like bait almost, like people like me or like anybody basically with these kind of heavy-handed messages that may not be done right, or like with the intention just to grab people, just to like get them to say anything or just watch it. But yeah, that's kind of goes along with that.
Yeah. Anyone want to have any closing words on Trolls before we move on to Westworld? I guess we should all go around and say if we would recommend chalking up the $20 for it.
If you have kids, probably.
If you have kids,
yeah.
Yeah. if you can swing it, if you have kids, like my neighbors, they have like 4 or 5 kids, and if you work it out per kid, that's not too bad.
No,
And like I said, we're looking for things to do with our kids, and I think it's worth it. I mean, I don't think I would spend the $20 on it, but that's just me. But since I had the perfect audience beside me, then let's do it.
And the music has so much variety in it that you're gonna grab one or all your kids to sing along with the songs, or maybe grabbing the attention. It's like, oh, they have rock this time. It's not just pop like the first movie was. It's a whole different variety of music that you can watch with your kids, because kids these days, they all love their different kinds of music now. So it's a good thing for them.
Yeah. I mean, I just to kind of chime in like real quick, when you look at, I know there's a lot of debate online about the $20 price tag for like pretty much all these movies. Like Bloodshot, like someone asked me, like, would I ever pay friggin' $20 to watch the rest of Bloodshot? No, I don't care enough. I'll wait until that's streaming somewhere else and I don't have to pay for it. But, I think there's an interesting thing that we did here is that, if you can kind of get someone, if you get a small group together, and you kind of like, again, I'm not saying give it to the entire world, but like if you have a small little group, you kind of go in every time one of these comes out, like 4 of us, and one person pays the $20 and then we divide it up between the 3 of us, or we like rotate week after week. I don't think it's too bad, but I don't know if I would say spending $20 on one person to watch this movie, if it would be worth it. Obviously, my rental got a lot of mileage, and then Ashley's nieces also got to watch it. But yeah, I feel like you need to kind of have either a big group or kind of like form an inner circle of friends to actually make this worthwhile. Because I don't think you're getting the same experience like you do get in the movie theater. Like Joel was pointing out, you get the big theater and the great sound, and I'm distracted at home. I'm not as focused on the movie. I looked at my phone a few times, where in the movie theater I would have been focused. So that's my thoughts on it. So if you have kids, I say go for it, especially if you have at least 2. Definitely worth the money. But if it's just like for a single person, I don't think I would spend the money on it. And Adriana, you want to close us out with it?
Yeah, definitely as me as a single person who usually watches movies by myself. Yeah, I don't think I'd spend the $20 like alone. Like, yeah, if you share it with somebody or like in a group, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But if you have kids, and yeah, that's totally worth the money. But for me, it's not like something I'd rush to pay for. Just wait until it comes on, I guess, regular streaming for rental.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we're going to move over to our TV section right now, and we're going to talk about a show that I feel people have love-hate relationships with, and that seems to be the theme for most HBO shows as they continuously go on and on. Some people either really stay on board and they love it until the very end, and then other people drop off. And I kind of wanted to start with Mark on this because Mark was one of the people who was on board for the first season, and then about halfway through the second season decided to drop off. And what was the reason why you dropped off of Westworld?
Lack of motivation, because I got up to the second season. I believe it was halfway through the second season of Westworld, and it was right before Maeve was going to go to Samurai World, and just life just took over. And I know it takes a long time between Westworld seasons, so I thought in my head, okay, I missed a couple of episodes. Season 2 is done, so before season 3 starts, I'm gonna make an effort to watch it before season 3 starts. And then I just never got around to it. And once season 3 started, like several weeks ago, I was like, you know what? It's way past its prime. I never really got into it like other people have. It was a tough watch, and it's something that, just never really grabbed me like a Game of Thrones has, or, Watchmen, or Chernobyl has. And I know it has a good good showrunners in not Chris Nolan, but Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. But I don't know, it's just something about it just never grabbed my attention and told me, come back. And even now, from what I heard from several people from season 3, it's a little bit continuing of the slowness of season 2 was, because I thought season 2 was slow, but then those people who watch season 2 completely tell me that wasn't that good of a season to begin with. And so season 3, starts off a little bit slow. I don't know how many episodes there are, or how many episodes there are into season 3 right now. But it's just, I just never got motivated to rewatch it again.
Okay. So Adriana, have you been on board since the beginning?
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm going off of what Mark said. I'm kind of on the struggle bus right now with season 3. So because it is starting off slow, and since it's been so long since I really should have probably rewatched the second season, because it's kind of hazy what happened in the second season leading up to this one. So it's like, what happened again? Because they're in a whole different. They switch out all these different worlds. They're introducing more worlds for everyone, and then like a lot of things are going on. Like if you don't pay attention, like if you turn away, you're like, what's going on? At least in my opinion. So it's like I'm really trying to stick with it and wait it out, because especially in the first season, like if you stick with it, it's pretty rewarding. But like I guess this new season is just like hasn't caught up with me as much as like the first one has, and I'm really hoping it gets better. But yeah, it's been a struggle this time around.
All right, and how about you, Joel? How you feel?
I'm coming at it from a different angle, actually. It was I hear it talked about a lot. A friend of mine's husband is Leonardo Nam, who was in the first season, a little bit in the second season. So I was like, well, I should probably watch this show. So I ended up binge watching it. So I was late to the game, and fate had it so that I watched season 1, season 2, and then season 3 literally started the next Sunday. So it was really fresh in my mind. So I'm kind of coming from a different place. And while I was watching season 2, I loved season a wild idea, and I kind of really liked the original, the movie with Yul Brynner, and that kind of plays into the show. But I started thinking phrases like going off the rails, jumping the shark, sorts of things, and I'm like, this is getting what crazy. But I stuck with it, and I found the ending quite rewarding. And then what it did is it led me to season 3, because I was like, okay, where are we going with this? And what I found with season 3 is it's got this futuristic kind of Terminator 2 feel to it, the production design kind of thing, and the crispness of the colors, and the LA of the future. As somebody who loves that city so much, that was really great to see. And for me, the triumph of season 3 so far is that they have put so much emphasis on these 3 female characters: Evan Rachel Wood, Fundy Newton, and Tessa Thompson. The trio of them are titanic. They are just amazing, and they have grabbed me by the lapels, and I'll follow them anywhere, because I can't wait to see where this is going. By the time we get to the end of the season 3, it's going to be making quite a statement about society and people using people, and that we don't really talk about much. So I'm hopeful. I don't know if that's where they're going to go, but I've been all in. And of course, they also have Jeffrey Wright and Ed Harris, and those two can do no wrong in my book either. Although both of their roles have been a bit minimized, even though Ed Harris's role was really a big part of the last episode. But I'm all in.
Interesting. Well, that was a very unique perspective. I have never seen the show. I watched like the first episode. I'm very strange with TV. Like, you can stick me in a movie and I'll watch any movie, like no matter how good or bad it is, I'll sit through it. But when it comes to a television show, I give it one episode. If that episode doesn't hook me, I probably will not be back. And the first episode of Westworld did not do anything for me. So I did not come back, even though it's gone on now. We're in season 3. But I thought this was a very well-rounded discussion because, we have Mark who dropped off. We had Adriana who kind of like got in and she's struggling now. And Joel's like, I can't wait to see where this goes. So, which is great about criticism. And that's what I love about our organization and what I love about criticism in general. And tying back into trolls is that everyone can kind of have a different opinion on something and have a different takeaway. And I think this has shown that like everyone has a different takeaway about Westworld so far. So I'm curious, what are your guesses before we switch topics? What are your guesses? How many seasons do you think this is going to last?
Wow. Judging by the movie that this is based on, I don't know if this is going to be like a Lost, where they just kind of went, and they kind of lost their focus because they were just putting episodes out there. I would recommend that they end it after season 4. I don't think you should push it anymore, because then you're just going to getting into some things that we don't need to know about this world.
Okay. How about you guys?
I agree with Joel. I think it shouldn't be more than season 4. I'd be honestly surprised if they even renew it after this season, because it's like with everything going on, and like they even mentioned there was a big drop off from season 2 of like 1 million viewers to season 3. So it's already kind of like declined already. So like why I think they should like kind of tie up loose ends in a 4th season. I don't know if it's going to happen. I hope it does, at least just to like end everything on a good, at least as good as they can. But like with the 2 years between, about the 2 years between seasons, like I don't know how they're going to do that or what they plan on doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, Netflix has started setting the expectations. I think like Netflix has been doing like these 3 seasons. It's been like this ongoing thing with Netflix, and HBO. Their seasons always do depend, like Adriana pointed out, on viewership. I feel like, unless the cast wants to be done. Like I think after like when Sopranos finally ended, I think the cast was just like, okay, I'm tired of doing Sopranos. Just like the girls of Sex and the City were like, I'm tired of doing this. But yeah, I keep hearing that there's a drop off and like people are losing interest. But and it's funny because another TV show, just briefly to compare this to, is like Walking Dead, right? Everyone who I know is like they either hate watch that show at this point. I don't, but like they keep going with it, and they're like, here's a spinoff and another spinoff and another spinoff. I don't know, like people must really still watch that show, but I feel like for Westworld with the production costs, I don't think it's gonna go past season 4 either. I'm in agreement with you guys. So, and then let's move over. So Netflix, everyone was bashing Netflix a couple of years ago for having all this streaming content, and and Netflix has become the savior of the quarantine. Everyone's loving Netflix right now, and it's funny, they're the only company, and I said this last week too, but their stock has just been unfazed by this. They had like a little dip in the beginning, but they're just as strong as they ever were. Disney's plummeting, and I think Hulu's kind of wonky, and Quibi's trying something out. I don't know how many people are going to subscribe to that after it goes. And Amazon, just because you get all the extra bells and whistles, I don't know if you even can count that with them. But Netflix is going strong, and they have a new movie that has come out this week called Love, Marriage, Repeat. And I did not know anything about this movie, and I'm curious if any of you knew anything about this movie before I mentioned it. No one knew anything, right?
Nope.
Okay, it's so funny because the only reason I knew about it was because they reached out for me to do like a virtual like press day for it, and I was kind of like, I haven't done a junket in like a month. I'm like, sure, I'll try it out. So I watched the movie, and I was kind of like, I have no idea what this movie's about. And I thought it was entertaining enough. I mean, it's a perfect fit for Netflix. Again, a perfect Netflix movie. And I thought the cast was really charming and lovable. What did you guys think? Let's start with Joel.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up. I mean, I kind of liked it. It fit the format of Netflix. You know, I didn't have the highest of expectations. I kind of the concept. I was just like, okay, what are they going to do with this? So it kind of had a sliding doors feel to it. Kind of meets Notting Hill, meets Four Weddings and a Funeral. And when I found out it takes place in Italy and it has a British and Italian cast, I was like, okay, all right. And then you know, the actors were all very compelling. I thought the script was decent. And then another thing that I really liked was the score. I thought it was brilliant for them to use some of like classical music's greatest hits as the background music for what's going on. And each piece they chose perfectly fit the scene that the music was accompanying. And that is so rare nowadays. I always talk about films can get dated by using new music unless it works perfectly. And by doing that classical music thing with the Italian scenery, I just thought it was great. I mean, Olivia Munn, I could always take or leave her. She's okay. You know, as the lone American, but I was really blown away by Sam Claflin. I mean, he's an actor who's been really working his tail off since kind of Hunger Games introduced us to him, and this really is his movie, I think, and he really nailed it. And also as a big brother, as somebody who has a little sister and has gone through her wedding, I just that really hit me right here. So you know, it's good. It's good. It's not great, but it's good.
Yeah. What do you think, Adriana?
I thought it was okay. Like, I think it took me a little bit to get into it at first. Like, I had to like pay attention because I think I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm not a big like rom-com type of person, so like I had to sit and pay attention. But yeah, I liked a lot of the revolving door of characters. I like Sam Claflin. I like seeing people like Olivia Munn and Frida Pinto in there, and like just kind of like I really love the Italian scenery and like kind of like this lavish like destination wedding thing they had going on. That was something that really, like, I guess drew me in, being as we can't leave our houses right now or go anywhere. So it was a nice little, it was a nice little escape for a little while. And like, I really liked how they changed, like they have like the different kind of endings, like seeing what can happen. So I kind of like that because it was not expected originally. So, and like how they kind of rearrange like the seating and see what can happen if you put this person next to this person. So I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah. How about you, Mark?
I thought it started off slow, but once it gets up to the part that Adriana just mentioned, that's when it started to grab me, and that's when, you know, it started to get really into the lighthearted aspect of the movie, which I'm a sucker for. I really love like lighthearted movies, like anything that makes me laugh, whether it's stupid or smart humor. You know, as long as it makes me laugh, I'm all for it. Because especially during these times, you need a good laugh once in a while. And I'm not really much of a rom-com fan either, but a lot of the stupid aspects of the movie is what made me gravitate towards the movie. And it just ended on a really sweet note too. And, you know, everyone gets their happily ever after ending. And I think it was a good way to top off, this comedy. And it's not perfect, but, most Netflix movies, are never perfect.
No. I feel like, so for me, what the big thing was with this movie that took me out of it was there was that character who was with Frida Pinto, the boyfriend character. And it literally like just kept having like his obsession with his penis. Like it was just like went on and on and on. And I have to admit, and people know this about me, is that I'm really like not a fan of like dick jokes. And like when the character kept coming back and it just kept relying so heavily on that, I just was like, can this character die or go away? Because I get the joke. I got it in the beginning. And then there's like a couple of scenes where it actually does work and it's a little lighthearted and made me chuckle a little bit. But then it just keeps going and going and going. I'm like, okay, enough is enough. That being said, that guy Joel Fry, who played the tall best friend, who was who gave the speech, I thought he was great. His comedic timing was perfect, and like his facial mannerisms reminded me like of Jim Carrey back in the day.
And he was great in Yesterday too.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say he's
So-
fantastic. I'm going to keep an eye on that guy because he is he's
Yeah.
got something special. And is it me, but I kind of felt like if this movie was made like 15, 20 years ago, that Chaz character with all the dick jokes would have been played by Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
much so. I was also. Were you guys surprised? I mean, Sam Claflin. I think every single one of us have watched The Nightingale. Everyone saw The Nightingale last year.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, you have to
I know
see
that.
it. It's so good. It's so heavy. I mean, not right now. You can't watch it during quarantine, but like it's a really heavy movie, but it's a really, really powerful, haunting film. And it's the first time that I ever saw Sam Claflin play like a character who was so like such a douchebag, like everything like you like in this movie, polar opposite of this movie, and like you really hate his guts in it. But that was the last movie I seen him in. And then I'm like watching this movie and I'm kind of like, this is a nice change of pace from that movie. But also I was surprised at his comedic timing and like, again, like
Yes.
how much charm he has in a comedy.
Yeah, he flexed some muscles. Let's just say that he flexed his acting muscles, and he's somebody, like I said, who's been really plugging along. And I really hope that with so many of us stuck at home and with Netflix, that they will actually watch this. There's going to be some casting directors out there who can say, I can put this guy in a comedy, I could put this guy in a drama, I could put him out in space, I could put him on an island. He could probably carry one of these movies by himself. So good on him.
Yeah. And he's mostly known as a dramatic actor, and it's really hard for dramatic actors to transition into comedy. And it's easier for comedic actors to transition to drama, like we've seen with Bryan Cranston, but it's really rare to see, dramatic actors go into comedy and pull it off like really well, like he did in this movie.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I thought it was a fun watch. Again, like everyone has said, it's not a perfect movie, but it feels just like Trolls, in my opinion. Like it feels like a perfect on-demand film, and it gets a higher grade from me because I didn't have to pay for it. That it was just part of my Netflix streaming service, so I got to see it, and I thought it was a nice watch, and I love the alternate takes and the alternate endings of what could have not happened. So, all right. So that was great. So that was the 3 topics. So this is completely random, but I was just curious if everyone, since we do this on Tuesdays, we do like a what you're watching, so we can kind of tie this show a little bit into that. What is something right now that you're watching that you would recommend? Just real quick, each of you can kind of just go through, give like a 1-minute spiel of what you're watching. Adriana, let's start with you.
I started watching Little Fires Everywhere. It started a couple weeks ago, so I'm a little behind and trying to get caught up on episodes. It's on Hulu. It's based on the book by Celeste. How do I pronounce her last name? I don't want to ruin it. Like Celeste Ng. But it's a really good show with them. The one with Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon, and like the acting is great. I guess if you like Big Little Lies or like Dead to Me on Netflix, you'll really like that show because it's about, I guess, rich people pretty much stabbing each other in the back and just being messy, but that's basically what I like. So like the acting is awesome, so that will probably be a big one at the Emmys this coming year. And like it's just one of those shows that just, I don't know, I think just watch it and see, because there's all these convoluted storylines and people like love triangles, like secrets, like, so if you're into that kind of thing, like give it a shot. Like,
Okay, awesome. How about you, Mark?
Well, I'm not currently watching anything because I'm currently trying to play video games right now.
Well, there you go. What's your video game recommendation?
I am currently playing, which just came out yesterday, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I've waited 15 plus years for. And I remember playing the original on the PlayStation 1 at my cousin's and just being enamored with the characters and the story and the deep message it has in it. And they've talked a lot about remaking this game for modern graphics for like the longest time, and I never thought this day would come. And so when the day came yesterday, me and several other like 20 different people at Best Buy doing curbside pickup were picking up the game. And it's funny because the person at Best Buy was like, "What are you picking up?" And I told him Final Fantasy, and I kind of joked, pretty much like what everyone else is here for. And she just like eyes wide open and just started nodding her head like, "Yep, this is why we're really busy today." So I've just played that game to death, and it just brought me so much nostalgia. I love these characters to death, and recommend it for anyone who's a fan of the original game to pick up this game because it's great. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Joel, how about you? I guess you can pick anything you want. What do you want to recommend? You want to recommend a CD you listen to? Go for it.
I'm going to go. I first of all, and I know Mark will agree with me on this. If anyone has not seen Narcos yet, you need to watch this movie. There are 4 seasons of it. It is film quality. I mean, if this thing was a movie, it'd be worthy of an Oscar. It is incredible, and the history of the drug trade that is chronicled. But right now, because I've already finished, right now I'm getting into The Plot Against America, based on the Philip Roth book. It's a little tough to watch right now, to be honest, because it takes place in 1940, and it imagines a world where Lucky Lindbergh becomes the president in 1940 instead of FDR. And he was the first person to coin the America First phrase. And he reminds us of somebody who's sitting in the White House right now. So it is haunting, and it's tough to watch, but I can't look away because the acting is so incredible. Ellie Kazan is in it, Winona Ryder, a whole bunch of people. I'm a few episodes in right now, and it's just so rich that's why I keep coming back.
Awesome. I would actually recommend, if you haven't seen it, it's over, it's done now. But if you have HBO Go to kind of tie it back into HBO, I would recommend McMillions. I saw the first 2 episodes of McMillions when I was at Sundance. They showed the first 3, but I walked out after the second one because I kind of knew I would want to watch the whole thing. So I figured I got sucked in enough. I wanted to go step back and finish it at home. And I finally finished it last week. And what a strange series of events. And how much corruption and the level of corruption and how many people became pawns in this big scheme that they didn't even know anything about. And they just kind of like thought like, oh yeah, I'll trade in the ticket for some money, and like the mob's involved, and like it's crazy the level of which these people went with this show. And it's every episode ends like on this epic cliffhanger that like, even if like some episodes are a little slower than others, by the time it comes to a close, you're kind of like, oh shit, I got to watch the next episode because I want to know what happens. So I recommend it. It's only 6 episodes, fascinating stuff. And basically the whole reason why nobody really knows about this story is because the case got solved right around 9/11. So 9/11, they were focusing on this for like years upon years. And then 9/11 happened, and that took all the focus. So that's why they're putting the docuseries out now. And I think it's just a fascinating watch. So I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out.
You know who the executive producer is?
Mark Wahlberg, surprisingly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I could not believe that his name was attached to this, but hey, more power to him. I mean, he won me over with Instant Family. I'm normally not a Mark Wahlberg fan, but I loved Instant Family so much. And I can add this now to something else that he's involved in that I liked. So, all right, guys. So real quick, go around one more time. We'll start with Joel. Tell everyone where they can find you, and that's it.
I'm at themoviemensch.com. I am Twitter handle is right below there. Movie Mensch is also on Facebook as it's spelled, The Movie Mensch.
Okay. Go ahead, Adriana.
You can find me at thecinemasoloist.org, Twitter at cinemasoloist, Facebook, The Cinema Soloist, and then Instagram, I think, A Cinema Soloist. Yeah. All
Awesome.
spelled it.
And Mark?
You can find me at nerdreactor.com. Twitter and Instagram is at PacmanNR7 and at nerdreactor on both.
Okay. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the other Scott M. You can go to We Live Entertainment, where you can dig back about a month and find something that I written. But I should have an interview going up for the movie we talked about a little bit earlier. Love, Marriage, Repeat. That should go up in the next couple of days. So that'll be up. And then, of course, I promised that we were going to do a question or a poll at the end of every show that we do. We'll be talking about the Goofy movie on the next
here.
episode. There it is. We'll be talking about the poll responses on the next episode. But for this week, for this show, let's actually talk about Westworld, since it seems to have such a mixed reaction. How is season 3? Are you going to stick with it? Are you going to stop watching? And let us know. I'm going to tweet out that in a few minutes, and you can give your reaction. So thank you everyone for joining me. It was nice seeing everyone, having some social interaction a little bit. But thank you very much for coming and watching this episode, and let us know if you like it. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.